Good morning, students. Now we are again together to continue our chapter. Chapter 4, India's External Relations. And we have seen in the decades of 1960, India had to face 3 wars back to back. In 1962, war with China, in 1965 with Pakistan, and in 1971 also with Pakistan. In the reference of these 3 wars, we have also discussed India's relation with Pakistan, Bangladesh and China, right? Today we will discuss India's nuclear policy. In the decades of 70, the other crucial development was the first nuclear explosion undertaken by India in May 1974. Nehru had always put his faith in science and technology for rapidly building a modern India. A significant component of his industrialization plan was the nuclear program initiated in the late 1940s under the guidance of Homi Jahangir Bhabha. India wanted to generate atomic energy for peaceful purposes. Nehru popularized the belief that nuclear energy would enhance India's security and influence, but Bhabha was responsible for establishing the technical and economic feasibility of starting a nuclear research program, building and operating nuclear reactors, and later developing nuclear weapons. Nehru was against nuclear weapons, so he pleaded with the superpowers for comprehensive nuclear disarmament. नेहरू ने सुपर पावर्स जो थी यूएसए और यूएसएसआर, उनसे न्यूक्लियर डिसआर्मामेंट के लिए प्लीड किया कि पूरे वर्ल्ड में न्यूक्लियर डिसआर्मामेंट को प्रमोट किया जाए. हाउएवर द न्यूक्लियर आर्सेनल केप्ट राइजिंग, लेकिन उसके बाद भी न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स जो थे वो लगातार बढ़ते ही जा रहे थे. व्हेन कम्युनिस्ट चाइना conducted nuclear test in October 1964, the 5 nuclear weapon powers, the US, USSR, UK, France and China, also the 5 permanent members of United Nations Security Council, tried to impose the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty (NPT) of 1968 on the rest of the world. India always considered the NPT as discriminatory and had refused to sign the treaty. When India conducted its first nuclear test, it was termed as peaceful explosion. India argued that it was committed to the policy of using nuclear power only for peaceful purposes. The period when the nuclear test was conducted was a difficult period in domestic politics. Following the Arab-Israel War of 1973, the entire world was affected by the oil shock due to the massive hike in the oil prices by the Arab nations. It led to economic turmoil in India, resulting in high inflation. Many agitations were going on in the country around this time, including a nationwide railway strike. Although There are minor differences among political parties about how to conduct external relations. Indian politics is generally marked by a broad agreement among the parties of national integration, protection of international boundaries, on the question of national interest. Therefore, we find that in the course of the decade of 1962 to 71, when India faced three wars, or even later, when different parties came to power from time to time, foreign policy has played only a limited role in party politics. India has opposed the international treaty aimed at non proliferation since they were selective applicable to the non nuclear powers and legitimize the monopoly of the five nuclear weapon power. Thus, India opposed the indefinite extension of the NPT Non Proliferation Treaty in 1995 and also refused to sign the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, that is CTBT, Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. India conducted a series of nuclear tests in May 1998, demonstrating its capacity to use nuclear energy for military purposes. Pakistan soon followed, thereby increasing the vulnerability of the region to a nuclear exchange. The international community was extremely critical of the nuclear test in the subcontinent, and sanctions were imposed on both India and Pakistan, which were subsequently waived. India's nuclear doctrine of credible minimum nuclear deterrence profess no first use and reiterates India's commitment to global verifiable and non-discriminatory nuclear disarmament, leading to a nuclear weapons free world. Many non-Congress governments came to power in the period starting 1977. This was also the time when world politics was changing dramatically. What did it mean for India's external relations? The Janata Party government that came to power in 1977 announced that it would follow genuine non-alignment. This implied that the pro-Soviet tilt in the foreign policy will be corrected. Since then, all governments have taken initiative for restoring better relation with China and entering into close ties with US. In Indian politics and in popular mind, India's foreign policy is always very closely linked to two questions. One is India's stand with Pakistan and the other is Indo-US relations. In the post 1990, the ruling parties have often been criticized for their pro-US foreign policy. Foreign policy is always dictated by ideas of national interest. In the period after 1990, Russia, though it continues to be an important friend of India, has lost its global preeminence. Means Russia disintegrated. Therefore, India's foreign policy has shifted to a more pro-US strategy. Besides the contemporary international situation, is more influenced by economic interest than by military interest. This has also made an impact on India's foreign policy choice. At the same time, Indo-Pakistan relations have witnessed many new developments during this period. While Kashmir continues to be the main issue between the two countries, there have been many efforts to restore normal relations. This means that cultural exchanges, movement of citizens, and economic cooperation would be encouraged by both countries. You may know that a train and a bus service operate between these two countries. This has been a major achievement of the recent time, but that could not avoid the near war situation from emerging in 1999. Even after this setback to the peace process, efforts at negotiating durable peace have been going on. So, this is all enough of this chapter. We have completed our fourth chapter. Hope you have enjoyed. So, thank you and have a nice day.